I've only been doing this for 2.5 years now. You'd think I would be better at it by now, but evidently not. Okay, I am again live casting on Zoom right here, and we have all kinds of people that are in the Zoom room, and they're probably going to be asking some questions. If you guys have some questions that you want me to ask, go ahead and post them in the chat. Or if you would like to come up on mic, push the button on the Zoom. I told you before, push the little button there, raises your hand and bring you right back, or bring you up on here. We are here every Tuesday evening, as I said, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when we come here every Tuesday, we always try to... Well, Tuesdays are different, I guess, than Sundays. Sundays, it's more of a dialogue, and we're trying to have interaction with Muslims across the board. But on Tuesdays, it's more of a one-way ticket. I don't want to say it's my way or the highway, but it is my show, and I pay the bills around here. So we're going to talk what I want to talk about. Remember, a kafir is someone who does not heed the beliefs and prescriptions is held by the religion of Islam. This is not according to this kafir. This is according to the Islamic Encyclopedia, or I'm sorry, the New Encyclopedia of Islam, dated 2001. I wonder if that's post or pre 9/11. I think I would have to look that one up. I have the IBSN right here. He's fine. Kafiristan. Why Kafiristan? I know a lot of people, this is the first time you're here. Why Kafiristan? Kafiristan is a play on the word kafir, which is a derogatory term used towards non-Muslims. I know, I've heard it all before. That's not what kafir means, Eric. Kafir means to cover, to conceal. That means a non-believer. You're not a non-believer, are you? Shut your mouth. I've heard too many commentaries. I've seen too many videos where people like myself are called kafirs by people like yourself. So save it for somebody else. If you want to call into the show, the call-in number is area code 319-527-6706. Area code 319-527-6706. I can't even get this right. Now, let me say it one more time. Okay. It's only been 2.5 years. Okay. 319-527-6706 if you want to call into the show. Last Tuesday, I thought was probably one of the best Tuesday shows we had done in a long time. We had Hatun Tash on. We had, it was like an hour and a half straight interview. We were actually on for almost 2 hours. We got to actually cut the show off and then continue to talk for quite a long time after that. And it was just a great time. The amount of information that we got from that lady is just absolutely amazing. But tonight, I think we're going to top this tonight. And I don't mean to put you on the spot here, Adam, but we have a gentleman. He goes by the name of Adam Seeker on Facebook, and we've been friends for a while on Facebook. And Adam is an apostate from Islam. Adam has left Islam, and my understanding was he became an atheist, and now he is a Christian. And after conversing with him, I think it was this past Sunday, back and forth on our show, I wanted to have him come to our show tonight and tell his story. So, Mr. Adam, are you there? Have you muted yourself? Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, so,
thank you so much.
All right. Well, Adam, what I want you to do is I just want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody, we're not going to go off on a tangent here right away, but I want you to go tell everybody who you are and well, just go ahead and start with you're a Muslim and then go from there.
Sure. Thank you. So yes, I was a Muslim for over 36, 37 years of my life. I belong to a very devout family of Muslims where my grandfather and great-grandfather were all religious scholars, and they're called sheikhs basically, and the people of the tribe will actually come to them for their religious and local area laws. family is, so I started offering prayers at the age of 14, 13, when I was like 12, 13, when I was just offering prayer, but like missing some. 14 is when I remember that I started going to mosque and all. Fasting, I started at the age of 12, the Ramadan fasting, 30 days of Ramadan fasting. I can't even recall a single day when I missed a fast, except when I was sick at the age of, I think, 25 or 26, and then I offered them later. After the age of 20 plus somewhere, I used to be in Wudu. Wudu is ablution. That's how you call it in English, I think. By the way, English is my third or fourth language, so please excuse me I use the word, pronounce the word wrong. So this is a ritual that you use to cleanse yourself, your hands, your face, your body, but basically it is cleansing the inner self as well at the same time by cleansing the outer self. Wudu is a practice where even if you pass the gas, you will break the wudu and you will have to perform it again. So I was almost all day in wudu. My clothing, to a certain extent, that I would not wear. I would always wear long trousers rather than shorts, kind of a thing, because the satar of a male is still the knee. And bathing is also a ritualistic bathing. I wake up every morning and I would do the ritualistic bathing, which is actually called ghusl, a specific way of bathing. There is prayer for driving the car, there is prayer to get into the house, there is prayer to get out of the house. So I was actually trying to do each and everything which a person as a Muslim is supposed to, because I was one of those people who had the Sharia, the lineage history, going all the way back to Quraishi tribe to Ali. Once again, do not mix me with Shia. I was Sunni, I was Sayyid, I was Shah, and that's my kind of a family history. I have that tree with me, which goes back from the father to the elder son, to the father to the elder son, and all the way, and then back to Ali. So, yeah, that's something about my background.
Okay, so what you're basically telling us is that your entire life was consumed by practicing your faith. Do I have that right?
Absolutely. Like from the start of the day, where before sunrise you wake up, perform wudu, offer prayer, or perform ghusl and offer prayer, and then do the rest of the things. And then you are going to the office and you are praying in the car. While in the office, everyone knew that I have to get out for, especially for the Friday prayer, because the rest of the prayer I will perform inside the office rather than to the mosque. But on the Friday prayer, I have to actually go or the prayer in the mosque. So nobody would actually arrange a meeting with me during that time, because they knew that they will not be able to find me at this time. So yes, my whole life was.
Yeah, okay, this is one of the things that. This is one of the things we hear about Islam. It's such a busy religion, meaning that you're so busy trying to meet all of the requirements that are placed on you according to the Sharia, that you spend almost your entire day. That's funny. We just had somebody. We just had somebody pop into the chat room with a nickname Kufar Phobia. I like this guy already. Okay, so here's my question. So it isn't just the requirements placed on you, or it is the requirements placed on you, but it's almost all consuming in everything that you do all day long. Now this isn't only for you, but it also your family. So if you're trying to change, what makes it most difficult to leave this is that you have to change your entire lifestyle. Is that right?
Definitely, like this life, you are actually confined in such a way. Like, okay, let me give you another example. I would always cut my nails on Friday before the Friday prayer or before I'm leaving for the office in the manner that it was described in Hadith and how Muhammad was doing. Like which finger to cut the nail first and which finger to cut the nail last, and it should be Friday. So you tell me about living a life, and I have done that.
That's ridiculous. I mean, and I don't mean to be, you know, say that, you know, in a mean way, but I mean it's just, I mean, if everything from cutting your fingernails to, and I don't mean to sound gross here, but you know, the processes used when you're using the restroom, that's included in the Sharia also. Am I correct on that?
Yep. Sharia, when you call Sharia, yes, there are Sharia laws, but these are rituals that have been described in Hadith, and Muhammad was doing it, so I was trying to follow because I wanted my right hand angels to write good deeds more than my left hand angel to write bad deeds. So.
Okay, can you explain that to us? Your good deeds and bad deeds, because this is one of the discussions that we had on our Sunday show a couple of weeks ago. You know, how do you attain salvation, or the difference between salvation in Islam and Christianity? And there was some argumentation, if I remember correctly, during the show, that it isn't all about doing good deeds or what classifies as a good deed. Can you explain that to us a little bit?
So, as far as the Islamic scripture are concerned, there are two angels. One is sitting on the right shoulder and one is sitting on the left shoulder. Whether they are real or they are just as an example, it doesn't matter. But this is what we have been told, that there are two angels. If you even think about doing a good deed, the angel on the right side will actually going to put it on the book. And when you actually perform that good deed, it will be written permanently. And the bad side angel will only write the bad deeds only when you actually perform them. And at the end of the day, there will be a scale at the day of judgment, and your good deeds and your bad deeds will be put on the scale. And if your right side scale is heavy, then the left side scale, thank God, you will be, or rather, thank Allah, you will be in Jannah. And if your left side is bad or heavier, then you will be in hell. So basically, all Muslim life, all day long, a Muslim is trying to get the good deed. There is nothing called salvation, given salvation kind of a thing, or you actually have to earn it. And this world is a test. I will destroy this myth later on, but right now let's go with what I was in belief of and with what I have been taught, and that's what I have been taught. That's what has been claimed by moms and the sheikhs and my father and everyone.
Okay, well, I want to touch on that just for a second, if you don't mind. Okay, so when you look at you know, you and I both know how in Christianity we have that blessed assurance, we have that security for what Christ did for us, and the recording of good deeds or bad deeds is essentially not. I mean, it's not existent. When you believe this, that your good deeds had to outweigh your bad deeds, what level of certitude or what level of certainty did you have as a Muslim that you were going to be able to reach Jannah or heaven? I mean, how did that make you feel being in that type of position?
None whatsoever. That's the thing. None whatsoever. Because Allah himself said that he will do certain things, and certain doings of ours will be regarded more than certain else. Others. For example, let me just give you an example. If you're offering prayer inside the house, that's one good deed. If you're offering prayer inside a mosque or Islamic center, that's 70 good deeds, versus offering prayer in Masjid al-Haram, which is 700,000 good deeds.
Wait. Stop. so if you pray inside of the Kaaba in Mecca, that's 700,000 good deeds compared to just one.
Yes, sir. Or in Masjid al-Nabawi, which is in Medina. And so this has been proclaimed in our mosques as well. So at the same time, there are certain other specific nights where you offer additional nawafil, special prayers, which will be rewarded much higher. Then there are certain times when you offer prayer where your sins would be forgiven and all. So all your life, you are actually trying to find ways that your sins could be forgiven in some manner or another. That's it. Like every day, every night, you're trying to find the blessed nights, like the night when the Holy Prophet was born, the night when he went into the heavens, the night when the Quran came down to earth, which could be the last 10 nights of Ramadan, and so on and so forth. So you are actually trying to find specific areas, specific times to do further goods or further good deeds and specific prayers so that your sins could be forgiven. There's nothing called salvation in Islam, full stop. And one of the hadiths actually says, I do not have it on top of my head, so I do not know whether it was Umar or Usman. He said that if one of my foot will be in heaven and one out of the heaven, I would be afraid of the deception of Allah that He might put me in hell at that particular time. So basically, you do not know where you will going to end up at the end. You do not know.
Now, okay, from my understanding, okay, every Muslim knows this. I mean, did you ever have any type of discussion with your fellow Muslims about this uncertainty and how it made you feel, or was it just like you know, like in the army, oh, just ruck up, buddy, suck it up, we're going. I mean, did you ever talk to anybody about this?
This is the discussions which Imams on Friday mosques prayers would actually proclaim in a Muslim majority country anyways. So it might not happen in US, but in a Muslim majority country, these kind of things are very openly proclaimed. And because Christians are kafir and they worship three gods, that's shirk. So at least in Islam, you had some kind of a surety that you might end up in Jannah, but Allah said that He will never forgive shirk. So shirk would never be forgiven. Hence, if you are a Christian or an atheist or a Hindu or whatever, then you have actually zero chance to go into heaven. So being a Muslim, you at least have some chance by doing good deeds. You see what is proclaimed versus what you might be hearing from the Muslim people in Western world. It's very different.
Okay, but the certainty, the one certainty that you did have was that Christians were going to go to hell.
For sure, Christian, because they believe in three gods.
Right.
Full stop.
Okay.
There is no question about it.
Okay. So, all right. So let's go ahead and transition to this next part. You left Islam. How did that? I mean, what was the first inkling, or what was the first thing that and just kind of lead us in steps on how you came out of this? You know, what was the first thing that happened, and then just let us know how it progressed.
So basically, I had a friend, and most of my life, I have read Quran in Arabic, and I've listened to Quran CDs. You know, back in those days, there are CDs and cassette players that I play in my car, and I'm listening Quran with the translation into my own language and all. So I have gone through all that, but now I know how deceptive those translations are. But anyhow, a friend of mine started asking me questions, and he was a Christian. Allah said it right: do not make friends with Christians and Jews, but I was wrong in having them as a Muslim, right? But he started asking me questions, and it just takes one person to ask you as a friend certain questions so that you could start exploring. God's gift for me was that I was a reader. Like somehow I read a lot of things, and I'm just good in reading and getting the data out. And he started asking me questions, and that put me in the beginning. Most of the questions I just refused, and I would make like left and right, and I would like go. But there are certain things that he proclaimed. It started make me go deep into studying. That is he like he's saying it, he's proclaiming it. How correct is he? So basically, I didn't know at that time that there is somebody called David Wood or there is somebody called Christian Prince, and I had no idea about him. And this guy knew them, and he would listen to them, and he started asking me certain questions, which goes against all my belief system. My aim was get him to the true religion, Islam, and his aim was to get me out of the Islam. And that's how it happened. And when I started reading, I realized that I cannot refute him based on the hadith that he was proclaiming about Muhammad. Like, for example, the suicide attempts of Muhammad, as we know, hallucination and imagining things by Muhammad due to the magic, effect of the magic. Like we have been told as a Muslim in a Muslim majority country that magic even worked on Muhammad. So beware and always recite Nas, Malik Nas, Alahi Nas, etc., so that you would be protected from magic. But even Muhammad got in the effect of magic. But once again, whatever, we never knew that magic actually went into an area where he could actually hallucinate things. Muhammad was a slave trader, and he was having sex with his slaves and all. This is all there in hadith and tafsirs and like in hadiths basically. Muhammad allowing marriage of adopted daughters and son. Like these are the things which nobody actually proclaim in a Muslim majority country, especially the Sunni country, where temporary marriage is another topic where there is a full chapter in Sahih Bukhari and then Sahih Muslim. There's a full chapter on that, and which is basically, for me, if I read it properly, that's basically prostitution. Full stop. I'm sorry, I'm using a very strange words. If I don't know if there are kids there.
No, it's okay. So, no, this is a PG-13 show. It's okay.
Thank you. Then Muhammad not able to differentiate between Gabriel, like that was, and Satan, like that was crazy. That was like that destroyed me a lot. And then like we as a Muslim from a Muslim country, we always say Hindus drink urine of their cow, who is their holy godmother or whatever. But Muhammad said drink camel urine and it will fix your stomach. Like it's then the revengeful nature of Muhammad, then Muhammad cursing to people and then saying, "Hey Allah, I have a relationship or a promise with Allah that if I curse a Muslim, that curse will become good for him or her." But like seriously, a prophet is cursing, and that's what he is trying to say afterwards, that this I'm cursing, but do not worry about that curse if you're a Muslim. Like, and then Muhammad is supposed to be Sadiq and Amin, the guy who was truthful, and people would give him the things to eat, and then again we read that on the day of Badr, people accused him, his own Muslim people accused him of stealing. So there are a lot of things then there are special privileges that only Muhammad could have, where women could give themselves to Muhammad, whereas if you go into a Muslim country, you would hear that very differently, that they were giving themselves as marriage. But if you read, things goes on a little tangent. So I started reading Muhammad's life in short. I think I already stated a lot of things, but like there are a lot more. But like I started reading Muhammad's life through different hadiths, and even Muhammad, like I would not urinate facing towards Makkah. Like in our country, when the bathrooms are created, they are created in such a way that they would never face towards Makkah. In your bedroom, you place the bed in such a way that your legs would never face towards Makkah. So there, these you guys, as a Christian, born Christian in a Western world, you cannot comprehend the things that we actually do.
Well, actually, Adam, we had Dan Gibson on a couple weeks ago on Sunday, and we were talking about the direction of the Qiblas, and how for the first 100 years of Islam, and all of the mosques that were built, none of them faced towards Mecca. But that issue that you just brought up, as far as constructing buildings in these Sharia compliant countries today, they will not build bathrooms in which you would be facing Mecca for that very reason. Now, listening to you here, you've made a couple comments that have kind of raised my eyebrows here, where you said that you were talking to a friend who listened to David Wood, Christian Prince, and their videos, and I'm sure that you're very familiar with Nabil Qureshi's conversion, with him and David going back and forth. Could you just say that this is kind of analogous or the same as what you and this Christian friend would do, where you would be going back and forth trying to convert the other to their side?
Yes, and it's a 3 years journey, and I'm just trying to squeeze that 3 years journey in like an hour right now. So that's literally a 3 years long journey between me and him, going back and forth. Sometimes we would even go for an argumentative fight. Sometimes we would just agree to disagree. Sometimes I would win or he would win, or etc., etc. But like we kept on pushing each other. And yeah, you were actually right. I listened to this testimony. It took him like 8 years, if I'm not mistaken, at this moment. It took me 3. So praise the Lord for that.
Well, you didn't have David Wood wearing you down either, though. I mean, or you weren't in the Bill Qureshi where you would have all that. Okay, so you're having these conversations with this guy. He's telling you all these things about that are found in the Quran, that they're found in the Hadith. This is causing you doubt. Didn't you seek out? I mean, for crying out loud, you said that your dad was a sheikh. Did you ask him about this?
Okay, so no, my dad passed away.
Oh, okay.
And,
I'm sorry.
Like 10 years ago, so he wasn't there for me. So I was going to Imam Mosque, and the thing is that they will actually give you an answer which will be very rounded up, and that's where things comes into another play, where I stop believing in hadiths. So what happens is that they will actually proclaim some Sahih hadiths as da'if, and I'm not even talking about da'if hadiths at this moment. Like Sahih hadiths are more than enough to denounce Islam, full stop. If you go and look at da'if hadiths, oh my God, they are just crazy. And by the way, just to let you know on that da'if subject, in Muslim majority country, an imam in the mosque will actually proclaim a da'if hadith without saying it is a da'if. And you will come to know later that you were believing in certain hadiths which are actually not sahih. For example, the number 72 in the Huris, the number 72, there will be Huris in the afterlife. There will be many Huris in the afterlife, but as per Islam. But the number 72 is never mentioned in a sahih hadith. They are always in in Daif hadiths, but in a Muslim majority country, they will just easily say, oh, you will get 72 or much more hadiths or something like that. So, and there are so many other things, like I don't even remember right now, I have it somewhere, but where in a Muslim majority country, they will just proclaim them. But if you, as an evangelist or apologetics, will proclaim any hadith which is Daif, they will start shouting at you. But they will never shout at their imams. But anyhow.
Well, hold on. Can I ask you about that? Can I ask you about that? When they're okay, so what makes them think that they can get away with using these weak hadiths, these daif hadiths in an Islamic country, whereas they wouldn't get away with it using it in the West or a non-Islamic country, or become angry if people use them in a non-Islamic country? Why would you be able to do it in one place and not the other?
Two basic reasons. One, in a Muslim country, you will not be challenging an imam in a mosque. Number one, nobody will. There will be hardly anyone who will be able to challenge him. But then there are so many sects and things that will actually come into play, and you will have issues. So you do not want to challenge an imam of the mosque. Number one. Number two, 90% of the Muslims, I'm just saying arbitrary 90% number, I think it is more than 90, quite frankly. They would not read the books themselves. They will only read Quran, and some will actually read, most will actually read the translation of the Quran, which is a deceptive translation anyways, but they will not go to the books of hadith and read it themselves, because there are so many. Like, look at Bukhari, how many books they have. They have like 13 or 14, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Then Muslim has so many books. Then Ibn Dawood has so many books. Ibn Nisa has so many. Nisaites has so many books. So if you want to read all of these books, you will have shelves full of books to verify which one is Sahih and which one is Daif. So, like, you would trust your sheikh and imam most of the times, and you would actually not read everything by yourself. And that's why they get through of that. And that's why I was so mad at them, that I have been deceived by these scholars whom I trusted as the source of my information for Islam.
So if you would, okay, so what you're saying is that if you were to dare to question an imam, that would be more or less insulting yourself, or what would people do to you if you even tried to, if you would question an imam on any of this? I mean, is there anything, or are there any repercussions just for questioning them?
For sure, there are repercussions, and plus you will be demoralized right there and then, and penalized right there and then. There are two repercussions. Number one, let's just say Imam said Muhammad freed slaves, and Muhammad came to free slaves, and Muhammad destroyed slavery, etc., etc. I can give you right now more than 20 hadiths where Muhammad is having slaves, enjoying slaves in the Masjid al-Nabwi, watching slaves, female slaves giving food and drinks to his guests. He has a slave as a driver. He traded slaves. He had sex with slave women, and so many hadiths on that. But if you say that in a mosque, probably before they will charge you with blasphemy and put you in jail, the mob will kill you anyways. And if not kill, they'll beat you tremendously that you will never raise your voice. That's a reality. If somebody says disagree to that, I have a challenge for him. And the challenge is, go proclaim the Sahih hadiths that I will give you on the center of the road in a Muslim country, and then come back to me alive and then tell me.
Okay, so
I will tell you, Iran, Iraq, etc., etc.
So proclaiming these less than glamorous hadith, for example, where just start with when Muhammad would enslave people. He was not only a slave trader, but he would also enslave people and use the women and children as war booty. To say that, so what you're saying is to say that in a mosque in a Sharia-compliant country is almost a death sentence because it's blasphemy against Muhammad?
kind of in a way. And then when you talk about war booty, this particular thing, they proclaim it openly that we will win, we will fight in jihad, and we will win, and those women will be our slaves as the woman will be the slaves because it is Quran. So they will not deny that. But as a normal slave trading, like you buy a slave, you sell a slave kind of a thing, like they will proclaim that Bilal was a slave who was bought and freed. But when Bilal was freed and when he was bought, that's the thing that you need to see. That Bilal himself was saying, if you bought me for the sake of Allah, free me, and if you bought me for yourselves, then keep me. So there's a huge time, and if Bilal was freed, he was freed at the end, not before. And you can read it in hadiths as well. So they will only proclaim Bilal and freedom of Bilal versus the rest of the things where they are. And by the way, this woman, right hand possessed woman, you have no idea what the teenagers, like the 17, 18, 21, something like that, kids would actually say to these kind of infidel women that when we will win the war, we will do so kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
So they call them out in the streets. This is what we're going to have when we win this war. This is what's going to happen to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So let's kind of move along here then with your leaving Islam. You've gone through all these hadith. You've gone through all of this argumentation for 3 years, and you finally leave. What happened here?
So I left in stages. So first hadiths. So I said like hadiths are gone. Then I'm back to Quran only. But when you read Quran, you do not have any basic things in Quran as well. You do not know how to offer salah, which is the prayer. You do not know how to offer wudu. Even the shahada is not in Quran. It is in Sahih Muslim, not even in Sahih Bukhari, the full shahada. Yeah, someone will actually give me a part of shahada from one verse and a part of shahada from another verse in Quran. Don't worry, I already know that. But there is not even a single verse with the full shahada in Quran. So basically, Quran doesn't tell you anything, and Quran actually says you will find many contradiction in it if it is not from God. That is 482 of Quran. That if it is not from Allah, then you will find many.
Hold on just a second. We got some type. Chris, can you? Who is this guy? Hold on just a second. Chris, can you? Okay. Okay, who is this guy? I don't know who he is. Can you give him the boot for me? Thanks.
If he has a question, that's fine.
No, he's. I don't even know what the heck he was posting on the screen. We had a guy come in the Zoom room and he's posting all these. I don't even know who that is. Can anybody tell me who that is? Animation girl. Okay, yeah, it was spam. That's what it was. Yeah, and this guy, I don't know who this guy is either. So I am going to. All right. Enough of the entertainment and the childish antics. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting. It was something going on in the Zoom room where some guy was posting some silly crap on the. It's nothing pornographic like we had one night. Oh my gosh, that was just absolutely disgusting. But okay, go ahead. So you left in stages. It started with hadith. Go ahead.
So my next stage was that I cannot trust on hadiths anyways. So now I have to trust on Quran. And so I started moving towards Quran only. And when I started moving towards Quran only, this time I started reading Quran with multiple translations, basically 9 of them, and started reading deep into it. And then this time around, this guy actually started giving me some links of David Wood. And things started getting crazier. Crazier and crazier and crazier. Like you will not find any contradiction, 482, but then you will have no compulsion in religion, 256, versus fight those who do not believe in Allah, 929. Then alcohol is a miracle of Allah. So in 1667 it says that you will use palm and vineyard to make alcohol, sakaran, which is an intoxicated drink, and that drink will be provision of means like you will trade it and you will earn good provision for all of it. And then the next would actually say at 590 that alcohol was previous at the time. The alcohol was not forbidden and all, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, is it a miracle of Allah or is it a satanic act? Fight those who does not believe or no compulsion in religion. Once again, people say these are stages. In the early stage, when you have lesser people, you will do that, and later, when you are in power, do that. Fair enough. But at this particular time, I'm only talking about how I am studying, and then I'm finding issues, and I'm going to Imams, and he will give me these kind of rebuttals. Okay, fair enough. Then you will have Muhammad, the first Muslim, or Abraham, or Moses, or Jacob, and all. And then people will say Muhammad was the first Muslim in his time or in his tribe. But Quran never says that. You are putting words inside Quran verses just to justify Quran. And are you better than Allah to do that? Because Allah actually says by himself in Quran that you cannot add words in my Quran. No, nobody can change the word of Allah. It's saying at 6115. But then you see that Allah himself is saying that in 2106 that we will abrogate or cause to be forgotten. So if a verse is there and you have forgotten, Allah is the one who is caused to be forgotten for that. And then Allah is substituting and giving some better revelation in 16:101, or Torah and Injil in 544 is now gone because Allah so-called entrusted the scriptures on the scholars and rabbis. Like, how can Allah entrust on somebody when Allah is most knowing and all-knowing, and He knows everything? So He entrusted. Nobody can change His word. Yet rabbis and scholars changed it. They are more powerful than Allah. Adam and Jesus. Adam is like the birth of Jesus is like Adam, 359. Whereas if you see, Adam was created by mud, sounding clay, and Allah fashioned it using His own hands, 3871 to 73. When Jesus was born by the Spirit of Allah, which is a very derogatory thing as well. I will explain later anyhow. But like, so many things. So I was at a stage where things were moving in a very different direction. Then I went into reading the hadiths where how the Quran is compiled. Like, that was one strong hand that I had, that Quran is never changed. Quran is never changed. I'm talking about like 2018, where a lot of these things were not happening. But then that guy gave me the classical debate between Jay Smith and Shabir Ali. That happened somewhere in 2012, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That led me to study more into this subject, and I saw there are multiple surahs which are missing, there are chapters which are missing, goats are eating the verses, and all these kind of things. You read and you get fascinated. Like, come on, we were being deceived all our lives. It's impossible to see like what have been told and what we have been doing all our lives. So if hadiths are bad, and if Quran is contradictory, and if Quran is not that Muhammad had at his time, because there was none, and then you do not have any original manuscript, like, what is left then? And then in the late 2018, Dan Gibson, the documentary of the Sacred City,
right,
that was given to me, and that, quite frankly, was like, if you would have given me 2015 or 2014, I would have thrown it away. But I was already at a point where I had issues and I had questions, and that documentary destroyed my faith to a great extent. Like, we have nothing, and that's the first time that he showed. Like, I never even thought about it that Masjid al-Haram was not even created at the time of Muhammad. I don't know why I never thought about it, because obviously a masjid is a mosque, which is Islamic. So it is always, I thought he's always talking about the altar, but altar of the Jewish altar. But maybe it is the Jewish altar, but I don't know. But Quran says Masjid al-Haram. So there are so many things which destroyed a lot of things. And then I got a video. Not video. He told me about, like, so one thing.
Well, let me ask you two things here, Adam, before we move on to these videos. Let me ask you two things. Okay, the first thing that you mentioned was that Jay Smith debate with Shabir Ali. That was 2012. Okay, so what was it about that debate itself that hurts your faith?
So J. Smith was given the first opportunity to speak. I do not know why. And he stated so many factual things about different versions of Qurans. And when it comes to Shabir Ali, he did not refute a single one. But rather he went on a tangent of a table of 9, which is silly to begin with. Like, he is claiming about something more disturbing, and you are claiming about a table of 9, whereas he himself told you that this is canonized in 1940s, 40 something, 24 to begin
24,
with, and the Hafs Quran was taken in 24 to begin with, but Saudi actually took it in 1940 something. So this whole idea of being at this debate and listening, no refutation from Shabir Ali about any of it, just kills the whole purpose. I do not know why a Muslim will actually listen to it and say and clap, which a lot of people were clapping in that hall, which was silly. Like, you have been told, and in the second rebuttal, J. Smith actually came up and said, which Quran? Like, which Quran are you talking about?
Right.
So this was big because I was already at a point where I already read certain things with my own eyes, and then this debate came up, and for me it happened in 2018. So I do not care it happened in 2012 or what. For me it happened in 2018.
Okay, so it was Dan Gibson's movie. Is this what you're saying? Dan Gibson's movie was the final straw, or had a great deal to do with it?
Final straw. Dan Gibson movie was sorry. I'm sorry. I think I overstood.
No. That's good. I was just asking. Okay, you're saying the 2012 debate between J. Smith, Shabir Ali. Prior to this, you're having all this conflict with evidently a Christian friend of yours who's getting, he's watching, God forbid, Christian Prince and David Wood YouTube videos, and now you get to 2018 with the Dan Gibson movie. What with the Sacred City? What was that? What was about that?
Like Sacred City, I think I watched it and all, and it had a lot of facts with proofs, but still I think that was, at that particular time, I was like, this is kind of a theory, and somebody would be able to refute. But then I realized that this video is there for over 3 or 4 years, and I think it's somewhere I read that it was played once in ABC channel, and then it was never played over there as well. But I don't know on that. Please don't quote me on that. But like, once again, I realized that it was already there, and there is no refutation on that, because it seems like there is some proof to the fact on those areas. People would only refute certain things, but they would not. But then again, the most important thing that actually shook me from my bones was the lineage of Mary that was described in Quran, and I saw an answer from Zakir Naik saying, because at that particular time a lady would be called by the most noble person in her tribe, and that's the answer that I gave.
You're talking about chapter 3.
That's all I think of.
You're talking about chapter 3.
Yeah, Ya Ukhta Harun. Yes, Ya Ukhta Harun. Hold on.
It's the sister of Aaron, but you're talking about chapter 3, verses 33 through 45, where and you're absolutely right. It gives you a lineage. It starts with Imram, the father of Aaron, talks about his wife giving birth to a daughter, Mary, and then it goes directly to Mary, mother of Jesus. There's nothing in between there except a little story about not Zacharias.
Yes, so,
who am I thinking?
Basically, the Zachariah story.
Well, okay, about Zacharias. Okay.
335.
Yeah. So that's all right. So that has got, and that's one of the things. That's one of the things when we discuss how the Quran is so anachronistic. So it has so many of these things in history so far out of place, and it has Mary, the mother of Jesus, as the actual sister of Aaron and Moses, for crying out loud. Now you can't, unless Mary, was 1400 years old when she had Jesus. That's about the only way that's going to work. But go ahead.
Yes, that's So basically, if you look at from a Muslim perspective, we as a Muslim, we do not read Bible whatsoever. As a Muslim, I was so ignorant of biblical things that I did not even knew that Bible is actually Jewish books. Let me just put it this way, because that's the first thing that I said. I didn't know Old Testament and the New Testament. So it is the Jewish book and the Injils. So we know about that. Most of the Muslims do not know about that. So now I know that. So this guy took me to a Bible, and he opened the Bible and he showed me, look, this is Maryam. This is the tribe of Levi. This is Moses. This is Imran. Now look at your book, and it is showing. If you go to chapter 19:28, it says Ya Ukhta Harun, whereas in 3:35 Imran is there, and then 19, 51, 52, and 53 is actually talking about Moses, who was given Aaron, like Harun, as a brother. So everything is together, and seems like Maryam, who was Moses' sister, and Maryam, which is Quran describes as Mary, somebody got mixed up into this. And if you want to talk about the most holy person or the most holy prophet, and that's the person you actually need to name with Mary, it should be Ya Ukhta Moses. Ya Ukhta Moses, or sister of Moses. It would still make sense, because then Moses is the biggest prophet after Muhammad. So that could actually make sense to say what Zakir Naik is saying, but not Harun, not Aaron. Aaron was not even a bigger prophet. So if you are saying that it was the tribal thing and it should be named as the most holy person, then it should be Moses, not Aaron. And secondly, then the guy actually showed me, look, he is from the house of David, or the tribe of David, and he is from the tribe of Levi. So once again, there are two different tribes there as well. So yeah, everything, like, that was a shocking dilemma for me, and somehow he got into this thing, got into a debate kind of a thing, and I just couldn't say anything because I didn't know. And then you all know the sun setting thing, and how Muslims actually, Imams actually say he saw it as is. It looked as if the sun is portraying. But if you see Sahih al-Bukhari 3199, Muhammad saying it was in Sunan Abi Dawud. It says 323991 that it is also going in the string of muddy water. But then the sun is prostrating under the throne of Allah in Sahih al-Bukhari 3199. But once again, that means sun is traveling and earth is static. So things went into very different tangent for me. And then there was a time when I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, my faith was shaking, and still I was performing all these things. I was performing all these things, and I was talking to Allah every day, and in prayer after my salah, hey, show me something, guide me, like, take. And then one night I just didn't offer prayer, and I was like, that's silly. Like, how many more evidences
Hey,
do
Chris,
I need?
can you
How many
screen
more
that guy
evidences do I need to
in
actually
the waiting room
proclaim
for me?
this is
See
the
if
word of
because we've
God?
had a lot of people in there.
Because Quran actually says it is clear. It is a clear. Chapter 3, verse number 7. Then it says Quran is clear, 4:174. Then it says Quran is clear, 16:44. And what happened? Like, what is happening? And
I don't know if I can.
No, I'm sorry. We just I had somebody talking on the Zoom link. Go ahead. We're listening. We're still listening.
And then Allah is and then Satan is misleading through the might of Allah in 3882. And then again, Quran is clear in 1644. So no matter, like, that, there's a time when you actually say, okay, I'm done, full stop. And the next day I was just done. That night I didn't offer prayer. I was literally feeling that I missed something, because when I do not offer prayer one time, I would offer prayer, the next prayer with the previous prayer as well. So you have to do 5 prayers no matter what. And that night I didn't. Knowingly I didn't.
Okay.
Next day morning, I didn't wake up at the right time.
So just as soon
And I
as
didn't offer prayer.
so just as soon as you leave, there's a notable difference in your behavior, and people noticed. Is that true?
Yes, my wife was the first one to notice because she knew that I was reading. I was giving her certain things as well. I was raising questions with her as well. She was also trying to see some behavioral changes in me to a certain extent where I would still offer prayer, but there were some things that she could see my behavior and all. And then when I suddenly left, she was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't think, like I've shown you some things as well. I will show you even more, but I do not believe in Allah anymore. I do not believe in Muhammad to be prophet, and I do not believe in Allah. Full stop."
And what was her reaction
she
to all
looked
this?
at me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, she stared at me and paused for a minute, and she said, "Do not let our kids know what you just said. Do not let our kids know. And secondly, don't be a Christian." I was like, "I'm not a Christian. I cannot go from one cult to another cult." That was my words, by the way. Sorry if I'm offending somebody.
No.
But that's where I was. I was like, forget it. If the book, which was the most preserved book, so-called, is not preserved, if the most holy prophet that we believe in is not holy, and seems like I'm more holier than him in my deeds and all, versus I've never done those things which he actually done in his life, then I don't know what else is there. It's disturbing to a fact that like she started crying. Like, we as a Muslimah, basically, if I apostate, which I did right there and then, there is some legal implications for her. Like, she should be leaving me right there and then.
Yeah, because that's part of the Sharia. If a woman is married to a non-Muslim man, that you can't do that. Women can only be married to Muslim men under the Sharia. That's true.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so technically, you have to get a divorce then. If you leave, she could leave Islam and you'd be okay. But if you leave Islam, it's not okay. You have to get a divorce.
Exactly. And that's kind of a thing which happened. She's like, think again, search more. And so then this is the time which was the most disturbing time in my life. Like, literally, we were living in the same house, sleeping in the same room, but we were strangers to each other almost. To a fact that 3 months into it, when she actually had to start taking prescription medication for depression. Like, she was going into depression and all, because that month of Ramadan started. And I would wake everyone up in the morning, I would proclaim all, and the sahur time where you eat and all, and then she was doing all that all alone. And I was sleeping in my bedroom. Like, you have no idea what a broken family could be in this sense. Like, you guys know broken families where people go apart. But this was a new kind of a broken family where, so we were at a huge tangent. So I would give her the things that I have studied. I would give her some videos. Now I started researching more on the videos to give her. That friend now came the next day. Next night he came. I called him up. The same friend. We went out, and I don't know. I have not abused anybody in my life as much I abused him at that night. And I was like, you made me go away from God. You have no idea. I started crying with tears that I have nothing to hold on to right now because of you. I lost my faith because of you, and I have not prayed the whole day. not know whom to look at, whom to hold at, and I was devastated. Like, it seems like there's something missing. My whole life, which was running using a certain rituals, just went down the drain. Like, you can say that you were free, but that freedom, I couldn't feel it because it felt as if I am missing all those things. I took a bath that day, but I took a normal shower, not putting water on my right side first, then left side, then face, then nose, then ears. Like, the whole sequence and the prayer during the bathing, like, everything changed, and that whole day went by, and I was sitting. So, yeah, and he thankfully at that day, he didn't say a single thing. He just kept quiet. He listened.
And you explained to him the impact it had on your family. Now, outside of your immediate family, outside of your wife, didn't other people from your family or friends? Nobody knew.
No, we did not. Nobody knew yet.
Did you continue to go to mosque? Did you continue? You're not praying 5 times a day. Didn't nobody said anything to you or asked you questions about it?
So most of my prayers are in the office, as you know, the 5. So Friday prayer is the only prayer where I actually go to the mosque near my house. That's where the problem lies. But the normal prayers are in the office, so it's just an office corner room where you actually can offer prayer. So certain times I would still do that just to show, and certain times I would not. And things were becoming awkward because now I do not even know, like, that day was actually a Saturday, and then Sunday I didn't do anything like that because I was home and all that. And then this guy started now giving me the scriptures, biblical scriptures, and he was telling me certain biblical things at the same time. My wife now knew that I'm reading Bible, so that went into a different dilemma. So I had Bible that I was reading. I was showing her other things, and basically this guy said, okay, you have proven Islam to be false. Now you do not have a God. How about you look into this book and see if that kind of makes sense, or if that doesn't make sense as well to you. So that's how I get into Bible, and I started reading Bible. And my wife at this particular time is taking prescription medication because she was in a disturbing stage. So after a couple of months, I actually stopped going into mosque fully. Like, that's the time when I just fully stopped going into any mosque. Some people can feel it, and some people proclaimed it as well. That, why are you not coming with us? No, I'm going to a different mosque. And they would know that something is not right with this guy. And but that's what it was. So I actually went into slow and gradual moving out for the people in my office and all. Disturbing fact for my wife that now I'm reading Bible.
Okay, so go ahead and transition us. Okay, transition us from that time that, okay, you've left Islam, you're upset with your friend for having you leaving Islam, you have nothing to hold on to spiritually, but then you become a Christian. How does that happen, and what does that do to your family? Because your wife told you, you can do anything you want, but don't you become a Christian. Don't be joining that cult. And now...
If that is correct. So I started reading Bible. Started with Luke because he said start with Luke. Thankfully, he didn't say start with John, because if he would have given me John, the first chapter is blasphemy anyway. So I would not have gone through the first chapter anyway. Like, another blasphemy. So Luke starts with the Mother Mary and how she gave birth and how the Holy Spirit descended on her. Versus, I know and I've read 2191 where it says Farajaha. And then if you read the Sahih International Translation, it just says, so we blew into her through our angel, and then there is nothing. Blew what? Ruhana is the Arabic that you will actually not even see translated over there. But if you take the mouse over in Quran.com for Ruhana, you will see our spirit. So I already knew this deception, and I knew that there are things in Quran which actually talks about this in a very derogatory manner, because you know what Farajaha means. It's the private part of a lady.
Right.
And then if you look at 1923, Mary, whom so-called Allah have given a good tiding, a good news of a child with the spirit of God, so-called, spirit of Allah, so-called, sorry. She's actually saying that I am so much into a childbirth pain that I wished I would have died into the oblivion. I would never have been born or something like that. And like, how can somebody would say that when she already knows it's a miracle? And then on the 1914, somebody beneath her is saying, do not grieve, your Lord provides beneath you a stream. So, but he called from below her. So below her, what is it means below her? So there are certain scholars, if you read even Ibn Kathir, you will see that there are certain scholars like Amir bin Maryam and Asudi and etc. Certain are saying that it was Jibril, but Jibril usually comes right in front of you. It doesn't speak from beneath you. But then again, certain other scholars like Abdul Razak and Al-Hussein and Mimar actually said that this is referring to Isa, and Isa was not even born, so he was inside the belly of the Maryam at that particular time. Things goes on very crazy tangent. Luke actually gave me some references of how and what is happening. And then the concept of Son of God, the sonship of God. Like, I would always fight them, and when I cannot win, the only thing was Trinity. I would bring up Trinity, and I would always win, because it's so hard for Christians to explain, most Christians to explain. And Quran actually talks about 5116 of the three gods of Jesus, son of Mary. Did you say to your people, take me and my mother as deity beside Allah? Which again was a problem, because when he told me that Mary is never a deity, so-called, it was not a part of Trinity anyways in any of the Christian sects. And even like I thought Catholics would actually take Mary as part of Trinity. It's not a factual thing. So that kind of.
Hey, can I ask you about that? Can I ask you about that just for a second? Were you taught that Christians believed that Mary was part of the Trinity when you were Muslim?
They would claim at certain times. Yes, they would definitely claim at certain times. They would make Jesus as Allah, and they are even worshipping Mary. They are even worshipping Mary. That's the verse that will be used in certain parts of the country.
Okay, I'm sorry, that was just my own curiosity. So, okay, so you're reading these verses. It's making sense now in Luke, and then what happens from there?
And then, I don't know, something came up in Luke, which was a prophecy, kind of a prophecy with the reference on the back, because he gave me a study Bible. On the verses on the right side, there are, every verse has a reference. And then I went into Google to see the prophecies of the Christ and all that. And something led to another. I was just reading prophecies after prophecies. How he was born, where he was born, what he will going to, what passage he will take. Why? So basically we would say, hey, your God has to be crucified. No, it's not had to be crucified. He chose to do that for us. Your God had to come down to this earth. No, it's not that he loved us. He loved us, the humans, his own creation, that he came down for us. You guys think that you will actually go to heaven no matter what kind of a sin you would do, because you always have a salvation. But Jesus said that I will not even recognize you, you hypocrites. You say name Lord, Lord, Lord from your mouth only, but do not follow the commandment. So there are so many things when you read Bible, you realize that they were misinterpreted and proclaimed in majority of the Muslim countries by Imams in the mosques, or some people that they are describing or doing the comparative analysis between different things. And then there are certain, so all of these things started to become clearer one after another. And then the message of salvation, why he was crucified, why he is the Lamb of God. Jesus, the Son of God, is not a literal son where Allah is saying, did I had a cursor or the people that I could have sex with, means like, sorry, not sex, the word is different. It says playtime. Basically, that's how they translate it. We would have it from among ourselves. So, and then Allah is saying that every human being is created by a male and a female. So Allah is limiting himself, whereas he actually gave the power to Mary to give Jesus without a father. So everything, like when I'm reading Bible, I'm always doing comparative analysis between Quran, what I have read there and understood from there versus what I'm reading here. And seems like everything starts to fit into its true place where it should be. And then we were told that Jesus has never been crucified. I think I actually said that, never been sulubu. So he was never killed nor crucified per Jews. The Jews tried to crucify him, but he was neither crucified nor killed. And then Allah is saying that he is the Khairul Makarin, 354, 799, 830 market. He's claiming that they plotted or they schemed, and Allah schemed, and Allah is the best of all schemer. So Allah made them create a shubha, that's the Arabic word, that Jesus was being crucified, and then he made, so all the people who were there at the time of crucifixion actually saw from their own eyes. They were not lying. They were actually telling the true thing, because if Allah did that, but then if Allah did that, then Allah took 600 years to tell that he made it a shubha. And then in the Quran, it's saying he schemed or he plotted. Basically, you can translate it as deception or deceive as well, because if you read 1 Peter 2:22 in Arabic, you will see the same word makar there, that there is no deception in Jesus. But so basically, all of these things started to come into its place, that it cannot happen like that. And Bible has some authority which Quran cannot give you whatsoever. But then I came to the crucifixion, that crucifixion not just from the Bible, but from outside the Bible. I started reading certain people like who agrees, who are the what do you call, theologians and scholars like Marcus Borg, what he says about Jesus' crucifixion, and Craig Luderman, he also agrees to the crucifixion. Then there are so many Levi's or Paul Fredrickson or even Brot Ethman, whom Zakir Naik would proclaim a lot of time. He actually said that
okay, hold on just a second, Adam. Every time we mention Bart Ehrman's name on... No, I just want to let you know, every time we mention Bart Ehrman's name on this show, you have to say, Bart Ehrman, may Allah be pleased with him, said such and such. You have to say that on this show. So that's a rule we have. Yeah, it's a joke. I'm sorry.
Allah has to be pleased on him. Okay, may Allah be pleased on him.
Yeah, may Allah be pleased with Bart. Yeah. Okay, so you're going through... You're going through the crucifixion, and the Quran clearly denies the crucifixion 157, or I'm sorry, 157. And you're looking at what these scholars have to say about it. These people who Bart Ehrman's an atheist, or at least an agnostic. You have even most liberal scholars, Christian scholars, saying and this is one of the things that I pose to people.
Even Strobel, so.
Well, I pose this even to Muslims to say, okay, go through all your theological journals where people actually, anybody can write an article, but getting an article published in a theological journal means it has to go through the peer review process. Nobody has ever written an article that's been able to be published in a reputable theological journal, I might add, that has gone through the peer review process that states that Jesus did not die on a cross. Nobody has been able to do it, and I've asked for it time and time again, and there's nothing out there. And the only reason why is because using the historical methodology, if you try to say that he was not crucified, you just look like a fool, and you're not going to get published. Okay, so we're at the crucifixion. We got about 10, 15 minutes left in the show, so let's go with that.
So crucifixion, I agree. Now the problem was risen God. So he introduced me with a pastor that I was speaking with, and he was giving me further information and knowledge, like when I was started reading Bible. So that night, I don't know what happened to me. I called him up and I was like, if I want to pray to your God, how would I pray? And the pastor paused for a minute and he said, however you feel like. And I was like, oh my goodness. So, no, I'm asking you, how do I cleanse my body? Which way should I face? Which verses do I need to recite? When do I need to stand? When do I need to bow down? What is the way to offer prayer to your God? And like that's when he actually he paused for a minute and he said, how do you speak to your father? And how do you speak to your father? And that's when if he had given me a theology or something, I would have forgotten it. But this words actually hit me hard. And he's like, that's exactly how you speak with your heavenly Father. And then that is the night, when the first night I came back and I was like, hi, Father. Thank you so much for everything, even though that I'm in the middle. But I need to see the sign because I came from a cult. I do not want to accept the risen Jesus as is. So you give me a sign, or I don't know, I'm in the middle. So a few days later I spoke with the pastor again. I was like, this is where I am. And he's like, okay, ask Jesus. Ask Jesus as is. Tell him to show him to you. He will give you the sign that you are asking. He is not dead. He rose the third day. He rose and he listens. You have read it in the Bible that when two are together, the third is he. So speak to him. Ask him. That night I asked to him, I was like, maybe it's a blasphemy, but whatever. I am proclaiming your name. You need to tell me, you need to show me, you need to prove to me you are God. Otherwise I am in a very bad state right now. I am in a very bad state. I kept on praying that for some days, 4 or 5 days. One night I was doing the same prayer and I was so tired of being in a state where I am just stuck. I cried that night. I asked him. And that night, a miracle happened with a sinner like me. I was sleeping. I went to sleep after that while crying and praying. While I was crying and praying, I just slept. God knows when just sleep took over. And I saw a man in white dress with the face so bright on the right side, and all the vest is jet black. And the only thing that I am thinking or saying to him is, why don't you raise your hand and bless me? I do not know how and why I wanted him to raise his hand and bless me, but that's what I was saying to him. And he didn't raise his hand. And I just woke up. And I woke up and I was like, no. That's my mind playing games with me. That's not possible. I was thinking, and that's why it happened like that. That's what I saw. It's my own mind, because as a Muslim, you know, Allah cannot visit you full stop. If you see Allah, you are seeing a Satan. So, I went back to sleep again saying, no, that's not possible. I went back to sleep again. The same dream, exactly, right side, all jet black. The guy with And I know he's Jesus. I know he's Jesus. He's not saying he's Jesus. I know in my brain he's Jesus. And I'm saying, raise your hand and bless me. And he didn't. He didn't. He did not. And I woke up. I woke up, and this time, as soon as I woke up, I started to feel it, that it's like I was sweating, that, oh my God, 2 times in a row. It's not possible. This is what I have been asking. He's showing me. He's showing me, and I'm still denying him. I'm still denying a miracle. That's just how stupid I was. I'm silly. No, 2 times in a row. Oh my goodness. I do not know how I slept that night. My wife is sleeping next to me and I slept through that night. The next day, I do not know how I spent the whole day. In the evening, I took my wife out on a walk, and I said these words, and I was like, I need to tell you something. It is very important, and this is what I'm telling you. I have seen this. This is what happened last night. I was reading Bible, you know that. I was trying to comprehend. This is where my problem was. And he showed himself to me. I cannot deny him anymore. First off. And she went into tears. And she just couldn't take it anymore. So we sat down, we prayed together. In words, I was praying to God. My God, I was praying to Jesus. I went to the same friend's house. Then I told him the same thing. And we all prayed together. While my wife was still not believing in him, but still he was staying there. And after that, we came back home. And now I'm just praying one thing. During the prayer with my friends, during the prayer alone, I was like, you haven't blessed me. You haven't blessed me. You haven't blessed me. And he came back the same night, and he raised up his hand. And that was the most beautiful sleep that I ever had. I did not wake up this time. He blessed me. He raised up his hand. And the time I opened my eyes, it was just morning. And it felt like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And it was morning. That's how I came to Christ. He brought me to himself. He took me out of the darkness. And he stood me here where I am right now, and I'm saying these things to all of you guys. He listens, he hears, and he does miracles even now.
Okay, so you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior on this. I'm assuming that you were subsequently baptized as a Christian?
Yes, but we were baptized together.
Who was?
Me and my wife.
Oh, your wife. Okay.
I took another 2-3 months. Yes.
So
I took another 3 months with my wife.
So it took her about an additional 3 months before she came to the realization that she too was going to accept Jesus as her Lord and Savior.
Yes. So when she said, okay, that is when I took the baptism, and I was like, I'm going to take the baptism with you, and we were going to do it together because I know you are at the same point. But you are just reluctant.
Oh, so let's hold on just a second. So let's go back to the beginning of this, where you told your wife, "Say, hey, I'm not a Muslim anymore," and she says, "Don't tell the kids."
Yes.
So,
and then I was telling her all the issues that I was seeing, and she was taking those issues to her imamiyah, the lady that she used, and she was getting the same kind of refutations, and then I was telling her different other things. So it took her some time, but then when I became a Christian, she did try it. She said, like, you are telling the truth, and I have to accept it, that you have seen what you have seen, but I cannot accept it yet. I was like, fair enough. That's the beauty of this. You are not born a Christian. You accept him as your personal savior.
Right.
So accept him when you can. And then I went into biblical preaching with her. You know, whatever I knew, I was telling her. Whatever I saw, I was telling her. So 3 months later, we took the baptism together. And that's that's where we are right now. I am
beautiful.
into Christ from the last
Now,
14 months.
what about your children, your kids? Where are they at in all of this?
My kids, they're pretty young at this moment, so they are not old enough to fully know what we are doing. So yes, the elder one, I have told him everything because she said to not tell my elder son what you are doing. So I have given him different data and exceptions, and he knew that why I actually left Islam, but he was not he was not mature enough in a way that he could see the compulsion of the religion of Islam. Man baddal deena faqatalu. Whoever left your religion, qatl him, means
okay, and that's what I want to get into here for the last couple minutes of the show. When you leave Islam, and this is what we hear from Westernized Muslims, is that it's not a big deal. If you apostatize from Islam, nothing happens to you. Can you explain to us what would happen? Let's say, let me just put it this way: you are no longer residing in a Sharia compliant country. You're now living in a Western country where you don't have to worry about it. But if you were to go back to that Sharia compliant country, what would be the result of that?
So you have to look at the teachings of Muhammad, and these teachings are actually very clear. Sunan ibn Nisa 4059, 4061, 4062, 4063, 4064, Bahlul Balaha 1248, Sunan ibn Majah, book 3, volume 3, book 20, Hadith 2532. Whoever changes his religion, kill him. And there are certain more references to that. Man baddal deena qatalu. Then again, we look at Sahih Muslim 164154. We'll see 164152. We'll see Sahih Bukhari 98317. Apostle of Allah said, the blood of a Muslim who confesses that none has the right to worship by Allah and I am his apostle cannot be shed except in 3 cases. Number 1, qisas of a murder. Number 2, a married person who commits sexual intercourse. And number 3, the one who reverts from Islam, means he's an apostate.
Okay, so it's apparent to me, it's obvious to me that you've actually looked this stuff up and you know a little bit about it then. Yes, I know that because a lot of these things has been proclaimed, and in our country there are laws. Rather, there are laws in all of the majority Muslim countries. Which doesn't have it? Who doesn't have it? Afghanistan has it. Brunei has it. Iran has it. Jordan has it. Pakistan has so many blasphemy laws that they associate Muhammad within the blasphemy as well. So if you say anything against Muhammad, you will be punished. Recently, a guy, after 3 years, has been sentenced to death for the blasphemous texts, SMS texts that he has sent. And you know that it's a public news. The lady, what is the name? The Asia Bibi from Pakistan. You know what happened to her? Like 8 years into prison, and then she was pronounced as innocent. Still, the mobs were actually trying to kill her, and she was taken out. So, and then there are so many things that happen inside those Muslim countries that you don't even know. So whoever says that Islam is a religion of peace, I would say, where? If you leave and you should be killed, where? What is the peace in it? Islam is a religion of peace as long as you say, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. That's it. That's it. That's where it ends. As soon as you are an ex-Muslim, game over. If you are a Christian or a Jew in a Muslim majority country, you already know that you are a third-grade citizen anyways. So there are specific jobs in those Middle Eastern countries which are specifically for Christians. For example, the one who cleans the drain holes, the one who cleans the outdoors, the streets and all. Those jobs are proclaimed for Masih, which is Christ in Arabic, for the people of Masih. So, what are you telling me here? So, I know it inside out. I lived all my life in Muslim countries. So, do not tell me Islam is a religion of peace. How did Islam came out? I know that because it was told to us that when we have to fight the unbelievers when we are in power so that we could proclaim the word of God.
Quran so that we could show them. It is better for them to be punished in this world than to be punished in the world after. That is what is being proclaimed in the Muslim countries. Why do you think all these jihadis are from a Muslim country? Why don't you see jihadis from US or from Europe or Germany or something like that? Why do you see them inside Muslim countries? No matter whether you say that they are Muslims or not, I don't care. I don't need to proclaim any jihadist group as a Muslim or not. What I'm saying is, try to comprehend the Islam from the scriptures, and you will see it is not peaceful. Either subdue them and ask them to give jizya, or kill them and fight them. Like, where is the peace in it? Like, that's 928 or 29, I forgot which one is it.
29.
But like, these are the verses that Imams will speak in the Muslim majority countries during the khutbah of the Friday. They will proclaim these kind of things. And by proclaiming, they will proclaim it in such a way that you would say, yes, because Allah's religion is the true religion. Because we have to bring them, otherwise they will burn in hell forever, right? And it's better that we will show them the true religion, the true word of Allah. But like, what is true in it? You tell me. Sorry, I just
this
I'm
is
suffering from this.
This whole conversation tonight. Well, actually, you're not conversation. We're hearing your testimony. Is it's almost overwhelming sometimes when we start to consider what people have to go through in order to achieve something that most people, I would dare say, here in the Zoom room take for granted, and that is religious liberty and freedoms. This is this is something that I've been teaching in my classes the last couple of days. As we're talking about the colonization process of the Americas, and how in the colonies they practice religious tolerance instead of persecuting people for their religious beliefs. Now, it wasn't perfect, but here in the Americas, here in the United States, we have this basis where, we might disagree with you, but we're not going to beat you about the head and shoulders with blunt objects because we do disagree with you. We'll argue about it. We'll debate with you about it, but we're not going to persecute you for it. But then when we turn around, and this is one of the things that why I love having this show, is because it perfectly illuminates what happens when we do have debate and we do have disagreement. When you come from a culture or a belief system, and this is just me speaking here, I'm not speaking for everybody else in the panel here in the room, but when you come from a culture that seeks to be supremacist in its nature, as far as the religiosity of it, Islam, where it's a supremacist ideology, and it seeks to impose that ideology on everybody else. When you dare to criticize it, then you are called names. You are assigned certain types of motivations to be a hater, a bigot, an Islamophobe, all these other words that they want to throw at you when you want to engage in actual debate. But the beauty of this, I think the beauty of your testimony here, Adam, telling us this, is that it was through just a casual conversation with a Christian friend who didn't, and we have an Anam in here, and Anam, I'm going to be conversing with you here in an email here in a little bit, because he's even posted in the chat room. We don't need to be angry all the time when we have these discussions, but the fact is that when we do have these discussions, the anger usually comes from one side, and we can see it in what happens to people like you, Adam. When you do decide to start thinking for yourself, when you do decide to start questioning that dogma, that tautology, those, and some of those things that you admit are just absolutely silly that we find in the Hadith. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all this with us. What's that now? Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
What you just said is because these people are actually stating these things because the religion teaches that whoever caused corruption in the land, kill him or crucify him or cut his hands and feet from the opposite side.
That's Quran 533, by the way. Yeah. Calling corruption in the land is Quran 533. And they always want to quote the verse before it, where it says, if you kill one man, it's like you all kill mankind. But they don't ever tell you what the beginning of the verse says.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that this is the dilemma over there, that as an apostate, I am causing a corruption and I should be killed. And a lot of people on Facebook actually said that. I do not know where you live, and that's why you are living, kind of a thing. And you are lucky that I do not know where you live. This is the words sometimes that I'm getting on Facebook, because I'm working on Facebook. I have a website and I have a YouTube channel which I recently opened as well, and I'm proclaiming the comparative analysis on my YouTube channel as well. And then I am doing the same thing on my webpage articles as well. So yeah, because if I found something which is right and true, and I know it's true, and there's issues in Islam, I need to show them. So you want to persecute me for that? Go ahead. Yeah. That's all I can.
And
that's why my.
And the testimony that you have is exactly what people need to hear, because we're told so many times that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. But when you talk to somebody that actually has lived it, has lived through it, has moved away from it, and is now living in fears. I think a comment was made in chat, why don't you guys use your real names? Well, I'm using my real name, but other people aren't using their real name, and the reason why is because they're afraid of somebody showing up on their doorstep, like has happened so many times, saying, "Oh, you're apostate," and then they try killing them. So,
trying killing is altogether very easy. So if you try to kill me, I am very good at that. Okay, do that. I know where I'm going. That's not the problem. They will take your daughter and they will force marry it to some Muslim, even when she is so young. And you need to know the news. Go read the news, what is happening in Iran, what is happening in Iraq, what is happening in Pakistan. Go and read them and you will know this happens. And last time in Pakistan I read that it took the guy 3 years to get her daughter out. And in a village, another lady is proclaimed to be by court that marriage was legalized. So they said you cannot actually take your daughter back. So that's the problem. You remove these laws, I will show you my face, and I will show you my real name, and I will even show you my face. Go and remove these laws from these Muslim countries. Go give equal rights to all ex-Muslims and Christians and Jews, and I will show you my face, and I will show you how many ex-Muslims are there, and I will show you that.
Amen. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to call it a night. That is probably this has probably been the most moving show that I've hosted here, and I've been doing this for a couple years now, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming in here and being completely honest and open with us about your journey out of Islam and to Christianity, the struggles that you've had. But I can see, and this is partly from the conversation that we had last night, is the joy that you have in your heart now. And this is why I was asking you, why don't, what did you guys actually talk about this when you're Muslims, where you don't have this blessed assurance that us Christians have? It's hard to comprehend, because it's such a beautiful thing that only God could give somebody through His grace. Something so beautiful, and I can tell that you definitely have it, Adam.
Thank you so much. Praise Lord for that. Yes, because if you are not given life by your deeds, how can you get salvation by your deeds? That's what I proclaim certain times now. You have this life, this magnificent life with everything that God has blessed you. If that is not by your deeds, then how can you expect the second eternal life based on your deeds? That's it. That's what it is. And I'm free in Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for making me free and get out of this darkness, because you are the only light. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. All right. So we're going to call it a night, everybody. Thank you for coming and spending your evening here. I know you could do all kinds of other things, like maybe watch the NBA, take a knee, or baseball players take a knee, or something like that. But you chose to come here to Radio Free Kafiristan and listen in. So thank you all so very much. And we'll